Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I extend my warm welcome to each one of you present here. This special webinar is very prestigious for all of us as we are going to discuss the future education of our new generation. Education is the only weapon that can bring any change in the society, and maximum time for the thinkers and for the leaders of any society should be spent on discussing the educational issues. But unfortunately, you all know for the last 1.5 years, what's happening in the educational sector. The schools are being closed. The examination has become a mockery. The children are away from learning, although online classroom teachings are going on, but the effectiveness of those classrooms are doubtful because most of our children, they don't have their PC or laptops. Some of the schools are managing on mobile, but we all know that how it's possible to do the things effectively on a mobile, although they are just trying, the teachers are trying their level best to cope up with the situation. There are many more issues. There are there is dearth of schools. There is dearth of teachers' competencies, teachers' training, the students' motivation, the parents' motivation for the education. So there are endless issues, and today we all are here assembled with all the educated people, with all the seasoned people who have done a lot in their educational field to discuss futuristic education and give us the ideas. And from today's webinar, we are going to pick some valuable ideas and we are going to implement it to bring changes in the educational sector. So first of all, I would like to invite a person who is the senior most person among us, Janab Tariq Azam Sahab, who is an educationist, who is a philanthropist, who is a person who has brought revolution in the field of education in his hometown. Although he is based abroad, but इस देश की मिट्टी से उनको जो लगाव है, उस लगाव ने उनको यहाँ से जोड़े रखा है और वो अपने देश की मिट्टी की कदर करते हुए वहाँ की सरजमीन में अपने बच्चों के लिए उन्होंने एक ऐसा आलीशान स्कूल खोला है जो उस इलाके के लिए एक मिसाल है. I would like to invite Janab Tariq Azam Sahab to kindly share his worthy experience and share his valuable thoughts with us. Janab Tariq Azam Sahab.
Thank you very much, Halima. Auzubillahi minash shaitani rajim, bismillahir rahmanir rahim. In the name of God, most gracious, most merciful. As you can see, the topic of my presentation or thoughts is use of modern technology in rural education, rural school education, benefits and limitations. Although I'm based in Malaysia, but as Halima has pointed out, I'm running a rural school in Eastern UP, district of Azamgarh. So, and for the last 20 years, I have had a very intensive experience in the field of school education. So let me share with all those experiences with you guys. I start with a very ancient quotation. Educating the mind without educating the heart is no education at all. And this comes from Aristotle, one of the three great philosophers of Greek antiquity. And before I go into the technology and all those things, let me try to establish what is education and who is considered educated. Is imparting reading, writing, and mathematical skills or knowledge of a defined content is education? Consequently, a student excelling in memorizing these predefined contents and acing a standard test, will he be considered an educated person? Or education is much more than knowledge of a predefined content. In order to define education itself, you must start with its purpose, its objectives. Otherwise, for anything for that matter, unless we know its purpose, its objective, we will not be able to define it properly. So let's look at what is the purpose of objective of education. In my mind, the most important objective of education is to prepare our children for the future real world, for the real life. And in order to prepare them for the real life of a future world which doesn't exist yet, we must equip them with the tools to face that world, to think for themselves and able to explore the world around them. We need to teach them communication skills, teamwork, problem solving, humility, empathy, appreciation of nature, how to learn, accelerated learning, perseverance, and enhancing their emotional intelligence. Now let us look at our classrooms, the present classrooms, whether in urban areas or rural areas. You would agree that except some cosmetic and outward looks, they have hardly changed over generations. Same group of 40 to 60 or sometimes even 100 students in a classroom with a teacher, with a blackboard and chalk. In some very prosperous areas, maybe the blackboard has been transferred into a digital board and some internet facilities. But otherwise, the methodology, basic methodology of teaching has really not changed much. Can the current and future technology transform this? What is the current and future technology? Basically, we are talking about ICT, which is information and communication technology, digital boards, internet, web-based applications, collaborative learning, and project-based learning. These are the modes and norms of modern technology in the field of education. Can it transform our classrooms if it is applied, if the desired of the required investment is done? After all, technology has transformed many industries. You know, for example, you can see with your front of your eyes, the photograph industry. You know, you have not heard the name of Kodak for many decades. A company like Kodak, which was one of the top companies in the world, had disappeared completely. Similarly, in manufacturing, in many other fields, technology has transformed those industries. But how about education? In field of education, my 20 years experience, and I have been applying, I have spent a lot of money and have been applying modern technology. But my conclusion is that technology can only augment, complement, and facilitate the learning process. It can never replace the teacher. So the focus in terms of giving education, the focus, of course, should be the student, and the next focus should be the teacher. Only the third point of the triangle should be the technology. So if we create a triangular system, a stable system of education, the apex will be the student. The second most important leg will be the teacher, and only third will be the technology. Now, we have to understand this, that the importance of teacher, which it deserves, his motivations, his welfare, his well-being, his training, and to attract the best people to the teaching profession. I think this is far from the reality. The best people, I would say, in most of the societies are not going to teaching profession. Maybe the very affluent societies in Europe and America and Japan. Most of the developing countries, the best people are not coming to the teaching profession because it doesn't deserve the best people. whatever we have, we also not giving the best training, the best environment for them to perform really. So then again comes to the technology. We have the digital divide between the urban areas and the rural areas. Speaking in the context of India, in rural India, in spite of all the fanfare and all the governments boasting, rural areas are still deprived of a stable network of internet. So if you do not have the infrastructure, how do you apply technology in a rural area? I have been struggling in my school. Finally, we have managed to get a tower from Reliance after spending a lot of money and time of 2-3 years, where we are able to get at least a stable network and to run online classes. But most of the rural areas actually do not have the stable network. So they either they don't run online schools, or they do what they do is they make videos and load on the internet, on the WhatsApp. There's a big divide, technological divide between the urban area and the rural. Even in the urban area, we have the poor urban slums and we have the affluent areas, middle class and above. Second part of this is the privatization of education. In India, most of the education has been actually already privatized. Public schools run by the government are in a very poor shape, and no guardian or parent who can afford the fees of the private school will send their children to a government school. And the reason being very clear, the quality of education in the government school is very much lacking. I know there is a big experiment being done in Delhi by the state government, and I'm told that it's very successful. I hope in other states also, the governments will wake up and take this responsibility very seriously. I would end my discussion with a very great saying of Stephen Hawking, one of the best scientists of the 21st century. And that is, the greatest enemy of knowledge is not ignorance. The greatest enemy of knowledge is not ignorance. It is the illusion of knowledge. We all think we know, but actually we do not know. And we are not willing to spend the effort and the time to know. And I think I have taken more than my share of time. Let me finish it with a small couplet. होती नहीं है यूं ही अदा ये नमाज इश्क, यहाँ शर्त है कि अपने लहू से वजू करो. Thank you very much, Halima, and आखिर दावाना वलिल्लाहिल हम्द. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum assalam. Mashallah, it was really a very beneficial talk. And Tariq Sahab, your full-fledged speech, please, if you can make a video and send to us, we will upload on Jahaneman for the benefit of others, because I know today we have lots of speakers and our timing, yani booking on Zoom is only for 2 hours. We have to wind up by 7. So that is the issue. Now our next speaker is Mohtarma Nasreen Fatima Sahiba, who is going to highlight the interest patterns and career pathways. Next to you, Mohtarma Nasreen Fatima Sahiba.
Assalamu alaikum and a good evening to one and all. Thank you so much, Halima ma'am, for giving me this opportunity. And I think I've got only 10 minutes. So I would quickly like to share, will I be allowed to share my PPT so that, you know, it will help me quickly wind up with.
You are the co-host, you can share.
Okay, okay.
First, open your PPT in the laptop and then share, please.
Yeah. So as we were talking about the futuristic education, I feel that it's very important in future, you know, because after the pandemic, especially, we all have realized that the future is going to be very volatile. So nobody can make out, you know, education, what is the purpose of education? There are a lot of purpose. Education itself is life, but it is definitely connected with the livelihood too. So I just wanted to talk about how can we make our present learner into the good futuristic entrepreneurs or employee, whether they get what do they do through the education, how can they get employable and seek livelihood. So this is during my MA dissertation, this was a research done among the students of class 9. And it was found that it has been done, most of my studies are based upon the students, marginalized community, that is government and budget private school students. Because I believe that India has got a large majority of the talent and the human resource lying in this sector. And how can we make best use of these students? So if, as you all know, that there are more than 1.5 million schools and around 260 million students in the world, and India has got the world's second largest school system after China. So it is important that during the school time, that is from class 8 to 10th, how can the schools work on finding out the potentials of the students? Is there any way that we can do that? So nowadays there are a lot of psychometric analytic tests, as well as the very important test is the relationship between the teacher and the students, which could help us identify their potential. And can we connect these potentials with their careers to make assured that you know, so whatever the career they choose in future is helpful for them, not only to survive, but at the same time give back to the society. Because once you are doing something out of passion, how can we make passionate workers? You can be a passionate worker once your potentials are linked with your careers. So there are recently, you know, even Hindu newspaper has talked about few of the very important future prospects where, you know, our students can pursue their careers, about the designers, digital media marketing, as Tarak Saab was very well talked about. We have got a large digital divide, but we have to see that it reaches every rural student, every hook and corner of India, because that is going to be the future of the world. And you know, there are so many new options that has come out, like customer success managers. There are around 19,500 jobs that are existing, but there is a large you know, the match, we don't have the industry and the skill match. Because of this gap, all these jobs are vacant, and people are unemployed. At the same time, industries are starving for the employees. And teachers, we were thinking during this pandemic that these teachers will become unemployed, but whereas teachers, professors, counselors, there is a need of 58,000 jobs for them. And talent managers, there are around 84,700 jobs for them. Digital content creators, 14,600. We have even got product, industrial, architectural, and interior designers, 33,900. Biotechnology has and is not going to, I mean, this is a flaring up jobs, and around 17,500 jobs are lying here. Data analysis is also one of the very big, you know, industry that is that's been will be created in future, and most probably 19,700 jobs are lying in this area. And computer science, we all know what are the careers that can be pursued in building the skills and to compete for the growth with the engineers in the industry. There are over 1 lakh jobs for in this area. And liberal art, most of us were till today, you know, it was thought that arts is a subject which has no value, and it was a myth. The first myth about it is liberal arts is the new approach, whereas it is a study which is not new, it's very old in India. And liberal arts, humanities, classical, and if you look at the medieval origins, there were some subjects. Why not these all? Now, as if you look at the new education policies, it is talking about connecting higher education with these subjects like, you know, philosophy, history, rhetorics. These all are the subjects which, why do we have to get them connected with physical science? We have got quantum physics connected, getting connected with psychology. And you know, empathy is one of the very important emotional skill that has been identified, especially during this pandemic. And all these skills were evolved in our society, and this phrase of liberal means the skills that is appropriate for a free person, free thinking. So this has been given birth and came into existence because of its need, necessities, and requirements. And NEP, New Education Policy and Liberal Arts Education in India, the world, as we all know that this big data, technology change, workforce, and especially mathematics, computer sciences, these are in high demand and will always remain in demand. And climatic change, increasing population, these all, and to meet the needs of energy, water, food, sanitation, agriculture skills, particularly biology, chemistry, physics, agriculture, climate science, whatnot. Everything is very much required, and this is you know, all these subjects were existing, but what was lacking and why were there problems? If you just look into this sequences, you know, the collaborative work, the teamwork, which was I think a personal potential was lacking in the people. And still, if one of my friend, there was a very interesting incident that happened in Hyderabad. I just wanted to mention it, and if Ms. Shamsa is watching this, she would definitely, I think she will definitely be happy that I have shared it with you all. Somewhere in 2000, in Hyderabad, there's a place called Panjagutta, where, you know, it is supposed to be one of the very developed place, and some elite people lives in that place with many hospitals, educational institutions around it. So around
thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you very much, ma'am. Actually, we are running short of time, and there are many speakers line up.
Okay, sure, ma'am. I'll end it up. Right.
So please give a big round of applause to Nasreen Fatima ma'am, whose speech was really very beneficial, and it was quite informative for all of us as far as career path is concerned. And I request ma'am to kindly make a video of the full length of your speech or presentation, and please send to us so that we can upload on Jahaneman for the benefit of all our students and the parents and teachers. Thank you very much.
Sure, ma'am. Thank you.
Now I would like to invite Dr. Ashoka Bira. Dr. Ashoka Bira is going to speak about innovative learning strategies. And my apology that I am not introducing in more sentences, because just to save the time. So thank you very much, ma'am. Now over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Halima. On behalf, thank you for giving this opportunity to share about futuristic education on the platform Jahaneman. I'm going to speak on, tell a few sentences on innovative learning strategies. I'm covering 3 strategies: crossover learning, adaptive teaching, and e-learning. The crossover learning about this is, the concept is, it refers to the comprehensive understanding of learning, and it bridges formal and informal learning settings. A variety of openers such as e-learning, open courseware, Web 2.0 tools, and information sharing through online communities have sustainably changed the education environment. An effective method for crossover learning involves teachers proposing a question or a problem in the classroom, which is to be solved in anywhere, like, for example, in museum visits or field trips. The experience of pursuing knowledge, even though the conversations of simple nature between the peers, it can allow the students to retain information better than simply reading it out from a book or even being told by a teacher. And thinking outside the bounds of formal education requires a certain amount of creativity. Giving students freedom to explore, to make mistakes, and to fully understand allows them to build not only competence, but also confidence in themselves. If schools are using Flipboard classroom approach, it's the first little step of crossover learning. In a flipped classroom, students learn new material at home and then practice it in the classroom. It shifts the responsibility to the students and lets them control the time and effort. Content and language integrated learning done in English might help teenagers with their school studies. Also, it gives them a good chance to focus on the subjects they are considering for their future career. We can ask them to take a run on experiments, record a short video about what they want to do in physics or chemistry. And those who are mad about geography, they can host a short discussion clubs or about countries and cultures. The next level of crossover learning is phenomenon-based learning, in which teachers can integrate interdisciplinary topics. The next innovative approach is adaptive teaching. Adaptive teaching is an approach aimed at achieving a common instructional goal with learners who have individual differences. Students differ not only in their prior knowledge and cognitive abilities, but also in their interests, motivational and emotional states, personalities, and other characteristics. Consequently, adaptive teaching aspires to adapt instruction in a way that takes into account these individual characteristics and how each student is best able to learn. The goal is for each learner, whether a beginner or an advanced student, to be equally challenged and motivated. This means taking into account not only the differences between students, but also the fact that students change and develop over time. Instruction must therefore be continually adapted as students become more competent learners. Teachers have been working to utilize technology in education since its conception. Adaptive learning allows the course material to be customized to the learner, which creates a unique experience not available in the traditional classes. Technology-based adaptive learning systems or e-learning systems can provide students with intermediate assistance, resource specific to their learning needs, and relevant feedback that the students may need. Let's talk about micro-level adaptive instruction. The main feature of this approach is to utilize on tasks rather than pre-task measurement to diagnose the students' learning behaviors and performances so as to adapt the instruction at a micro level. Typical examples is one-on-one tutoring and intelligent tutoring systems. The more capable and competent students become, the less guidance they will need, and the better ability of them is that they can regulate their learning process. This process, this increases the numbers of self-regulated learners. In adaptive teaching, teachers' role is to monitor each child's learning and to adjust the instruction as and when necessary. The more competent a student becomes, the less guidance the teacher needs to provide.
Thank you very much, ma'am. It is really very informative. I request you to kindly wind up, please.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. When I am announcing, please take 1 minute time to wind up your presentation. Now let's move to the next speaker, and our next speaker is Dr. Reshma Tabassum, who is associate professor at Mithila University. And Dr. Reshma Tabassum is going to speak about new age educational trends for school-going children. Yes, Reshma, over to you, please.
Thank you, ma'am. We all are here to share the views on futuristic education, online, offline mode. So I'll come to the point right now. I'll say that the pandemic has changed the way we learn. Earlier mode of learning was different what we are having at present now. The mode of teaching has switched from offline to online. As a result, what happened that the school building has got a deserted look. Teachers and students, those who have got a reliable Wi-Fi connection or internet facilities, have switched on their devices to begin their class from home. But what about those people who can't afford it or having poor connectivity, running short of money? These type of people are facing much more problem. Another thing, what we are finding, that teaching requires 3 domains, that is cognitive, psychomotor, and affective domain. This psychomotor and affective domain, that is not playing much role in this online mode of teaching. Only cognitive one is playing, and that also in the form of information that we are providing to the students. They are not gaining knowledge because they are the listeners. There is no sort of interaction between the teacher and the students. So interaction only leads to development of knowledge and creativity on all such things. So interaction is of much importance. We see that many reports have come that the children's writing have become very bad. Their speed has decreased. Students are feeling tired when they go out of their home to walk even 100 or 200 meters. There is behavioristic change. Student wants to be in isolation with mobile or laptop. They become irritated when you tell them anything. Means all such things we find right from 1.5 years when the children are at home and learning is going on with the help of online mode of teaching. We all know that education has today become 4 polar. That is teacher, student, administration, and family. Family, we are aware with student, teacher, administration, but when I'm speaking about the family, the question is why? How come the family? Family, they make the student ward, their children ready for to join the class in the internet. But sometimes they see that there is network failure. Sometimes they see that there is internet is not working. Sometimes they find that due to shortage of money, they can't recharge their mobile. There are so many things that the family members are facing in this online mode of teaching. Now, I'll say a famous proverb that don't cry over the spilt milk. What is happening? Why should we cry that we are facing such and such problems, but we have to adjust ourselves? Because we are in the age where there is exponential changes going on. It is not very certain that how long this pandemic and its effects going to continue. and we should not just go on debating on it. If this online mode of teaching continues, then we have to do certain things. That is, we have to redesign our syllabus, examination pattern, assessment, feedback, which fits on online mode of teaching. It won't be good that teaching offline syllabus and conducting exam, doing assessment on online pattern, this would be very much mismatch. And we know that teaching requires planning, execution, and evaluation. Here in execution, the problem would be in knowing your student and interacting and diagnosing of the learner, because this can be known only with the help of activities and discussion individually. Evaluation, which is the most active phase of teaching, the teacher observes the student's reaction to question. The behavior of the student is measured in order to evaluate the achievements. All the three phases, that is planning, execution, and evaluation, helps to modify the other in order to make teaching more meaningful and significant. Feedback, that is also an integral part of teacher's practice. It helps the students to grow. It helps the teacher in knowing where the learner is going and knowing where the learner is right now. If all these aspects of teaching is taken care of in online mode also, then it won't be listening, but it would be learning.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Reshma. Dr. Reshma, I request you to kindly wind up, please.
Okay, last line, few lines I'll say, then I'll conclude.
Yeah.
Means there is still uncertainty is there that how long would this pandemic continue and how long the children will remain in home, though the children themselves have become bored and demand for school to reopen. Till then, we have to continue with teaching. We can go for blended learning as it brings together traditional education and digital education. Classroom teaching will give the students a sense of closeness and warmness with teachers and peers and learn face-to-face. Blended learning would help students to explore technology and use various tools, learning tools, such as PowerPoint, video lectures, PDF, Word documents, etc. Last line I will conclude with: the future of education is strengthening and incorporating student-centric learning. Thank you, ma'am. Here I'll conclude because of the shortage of time.
Thank
Thank you once again.
Dr. Reshma. Thank you very much. It was really based on the facts, what's happening, and your observation, deep observation of the situation. Thank you very much. Now our next speaker is Colonel Aditya Singhal ji, who is going to highlight the importance of career guidance and future career profile post-COVID-19. Over to you, Aditya ji.
Thank you, Dr. Halima, and very good evening to all the participants in this program. As my speaker before me had brought out the importance of futuristic education and also the various challenges which are being faced by the schools, especially due to this pandemic. There's a very vast shift in the career profile which is going to be there in the future after the COVID-19 situation improve, as and where that happens. In the present context, if you must all have seen that the 10th board exams had to be cancelled, the 12th board exams had to be cancelled. The government is still in the process of planning out what will be the assessment system. And as a result, the future of millions of students who are in 10th and 12th has been impacted. So even though they had selected their careers based on the traditional things which are already there, right now the present young school children are very confused as to what to do. Firstly, when they have to select the subjects for 11th after their 10th results have been declared. And second, for those who have finished their 12th, now what to do and how to go about selecting the career after 12th. So that is where the importance of career guidance comes in. Most of you are already experienced school educators, and you are very well aware about the practical problems being faced by the children, especially those children who are in the rural areas. Those who are in the urban areas, or those who are staying in metro politan cities, they still have access to these facilities. But those who are in the rural areas, and as somebody had worked out, in the government schools, there's a major problem being faced not only by the student but by the staff also. So that is where the importance of early career planning and career guidance comes in, especially those students who are in the bracket of 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th, because these are the most important years for the school going children, from where the foundation of their career is laid down. And so that is why we also need specialists, not only people like me who have acquired this qualification expertise, but every school needs a career counselor who are qualified, and they do not have to depend upon people from outside. So they can themselves carry out the basic things are like conducting a career psychometric test, identifying the strength and interests of the student, and based on his interest and strength and the capabilities, they can guide them firstly to select the correct subject in 11th and 12th. Even though as per the CBSE compendium of courses available after 12th, there are almost about 113 different courses which are available to students after he or she finishes the 12th board exam. But for each career, there's a requirement of a different subject to be selected. Whereas then today, and even those of you who are of my age group, you must have realized that most of the schools offered very limited choices to the children, except for those private schools or the multinational school where the system is slightly different. So that is why it is very important for the educators to get into this, especially have a qualified counselor, professionally qualified counselor on board in the school, especially for these students, so that they can give the guidance, correct guidance to them. Then third part is we always talk about converting our passion into profession. If you want to convert your passion into a profession, then you have to be given the right guidance. You need hand-holding, not only in the beginning, even till the time they achieve that excellence in their selected career. So that is another reason why we need career guidance and career planning. So when it comes to the future career, you must have all seen in the last 1.5 years, the entire spectrum has changed. We have been forced to go back to the digital medium, and you are the most impacted community, because the education field sector has not stopped even for a day, even though there was a complete lockdown in the country. The teachers and the principals and the schools and the various institutions were working very hard, struggling to find various important ways and means to educate your students and give them the right kind of guidance, so that their year is not wasted or lost. And with this thing, everybody had to buy force switch over to the digital medium. And so because of switching over to digital medium, not only the schools and colleges, but even the entire work sector, whether it is the government institutes, whether it is a private institution, not earlier it was only the IT companies who were working on the digital medium. Now everybody else has, except for the manufacturing sector or the important sectors wherein you have to have a physical contact. Even the medical fraternity had to shift over to the medical online medium for providing consultancy to the patients. So what is the outcome of this? The outcome of this is that now the most important and most I would say advanced career, or most beneficial career for the student, would be based upon these digital platforms. So wherein you have the cloud computing, you have the data analysis, you have business analysis, digital marketing, and overall cyber security. So we need experts in these fields. As somebody had mentioned before, I think Dr. Nasreen Fatima had covered most of the future professions which are going to be important in next field.
Thank you very
So
much.
they have to
Aditya ji,
switch
I
over to that.
request you to kindly conclude
Yeah.
with a minute. Yes.
So with this, I would say that to summarize, I would say that it is very important for all of us, especially those who are principals of schools and colleges, to get hold of professional expertise in their schools, so that you do not have to look outward, but you can provide these guidance and importance to the children in your schools only. I'll also share a link with you, Dr. Fatima, of the McKinsey Global Institute February 2021 report, which also gives out the future of workplace after COVID-19. So we have to perforce shift to remote work and virtual meetings and flexible work hours. That is going to be the future. Accordingly, we'll have to prepare our youth to face them and succeed in this. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Aditya Sehgal. Will you please share the link so that we can use it?
Yes, ma'am, I'll do that. I'll just share the link in the chat box.
Thank you very much, Colonel Aditya Singhal ji. It was really very informative. And now moving to the next participant, I would like to invite Roshan Jahan Sahiba. Roshan Jahan Sahiba, you are requested to kindly unmute yourself and start your presentation.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम रहमतुल्लाहि व बरकातुहू। मैं आज बात करूंगी ग्रोथ माइंडसेट की। आफ्टर पेंडेमिक हम लोग सब इस चीज को रियलाइज कर ही रहे हैं कि हमें बहुत कुछ सीखना है, और हमारे बच्चे भी जो एजुकेशन में हम बहुत कुछ फेस भी कर रहे हैं, लेकिन ये सभी पॉसिबल है कि हम किस तरह, हमारा नजरिया क्या है, हम किस तरह से सोचते हैं। हालांकि सबका अपना अपना नजरिया होता है, और इसको ऐसा नहीं है कि ये बाय बर्थ होता है, प्रैक्टिस से हम अपने नजरिए को बदल भी सकते हैं। तो कहने का मतलब ये है कि जब हम कभी इस तरह से बात को करते हैं, अरे मैंने तो कभी ये काम किया ही नहीं, तो मैं कैसे कर सकता हूँ, या मेरे पास तो ऐसे कोई साधन ही नहीं है, तो मैं इसको किस तरह से सीख सकता हूँ, या कभी इस तरह से कहना अपनी बात को कि इतनी अच्छी मेरी किस्मत कहाँ है कि मुझे सक्सेस मिले ही, तो मैं इसे ट्राई नहीं कर सकता। तो दिस इज द फिक्स माइंडसेट। लेकिन जब हम ग्रोथ माइंडसेट के बारे में सोचते हैं, हम उसे समझने की जरूरत है कि जब हम तैयार होते हैं सब कुछ सीखने के लिए, रेडीली तैयार होते हैं कि नहीं हम कर सकते हैं, अगर हमने पहले नहीं किया तो हम अब कर सकते हैं। जब हम इस तरह से अपना आप को हमेशा तैयार रखते हैं सीखने के लिए, तो तब हमें ये फर्क नहीं पड़ता कि हम उम्र के किस पड़ाव में इस चीज को सीख रहे हैं। तब हमें ये फर्क नहीं पड़ता कि हम हमारे सामने सिखाने वाला छोटा है या बड़ा है, या हम ये टेक्नोलॉजी को सीख पाएंगे या नहीं, हम उसको जस्ट ट्राई करते हैं, और जब ट्राई करते हैं तो हम इसको सीख पाते हैं। इस पेंडेमिक में हम सभी लोग काफी मुश्किल दौर से गुजरे हैं, सभी के अपने अपने एक्सपीरियंस हैं, और हम ये देख पा रहे हैं कि बच्चों से हमारी कनेक्टिविटी जो है वो कहीं ना कहीं छूट गई है, और इस कनेक्टिविटी को बहाल करने के लिए हमारा ग्रोथ माइंडसेट का होना बहुत जरूरी है। जब हम सीख पाएंगे कि बच्चों से हम कनेक्ट कैसे हो पाए, और अपनी क्लासेस को हम किस तरह से इंटरेक्टिव बना पाए, किस तरह से इफेक्टिवली उसको सोच पाए, तभी हम इसे फ्यूचर प्लान पे काम कर पाएंगे। फॉर एग्जाम्पल, अगर मैं फिक्स माइंडसेट में हूँ, तो मुझे कभी किसी का निगेटिव फीडबैक तो अच्छा लगेगा ही नहीं, मैं उसे लर्निंग की तरह लूंगी ही नहीं। लेकिन पॉजिटिव ग्रोथ माइंडसेट के साथ मैं उस फीडबैक को एक लर्निंग की तरह करती हूँ, अपने परफॉर्मेंस को, अपनी एक्टिविटीज को इन्हांस करती हूँ। और ये ग्रोथ माइंडसेट ही है कि हम में से बहुत सारे लोग बहुत खूबसूरती के साथ टेक्नोलॉजी को सीख पाए हैं, बहुत खूबसूरती के साथ वो ऑनलाइन क्लासेस ले रहे हैं, और उसमें टेक्नोलॉजी का वो इस्तेमाल भी कर रहे हैं। और ग्रोथ माइंडसेट की एक बहुत अच्छी खूबी ये भी है कि जब हम इसके साथ रहते हैं, तो हम अपने छोटों से भी, अपने साथ वालों से भी सीख पाते हैं, और उनको हम एज इट इज एक्सेप्ट भी करते हैं बिना जजमेंटल हुए। जब उनको हम एज इट इज एक्सेप्ट करते हैं, तो हम ये देख पाते हैं कि उसके जो रूट में जो है प्रॉब्लम है क्या। हम लोग टेक्नोलॉजी की बात कर रहे हैं, हम लोग इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर की बात कर रहे हैं, हम, लेकिन सबसे बड़ी चीज में जो है हमारी कनेक्टिविटी की है। जब तक बच्चा हम तक रीच ही नहीं कर पाएगा, पहुंच ही नहीं पाएगा, उसके हमारे से कनेक्टिविटी हो ही नहीं पाएगी, तो किस तरह से हम अपने इससे टीचिंग लर्निंग प्रोसेस को आगे बढ़ा सकते हैं। तो उस कनेक्टिविटी के लिए जरूरत है कि हमारा खुद का ग्रोथ माइंडसेट जो है वो बहुत पॉजिटिव वे में हो। और जो ये हायरार्की है, जो हमारे बीच में हायरार्की आती है और जो हमारे सोशल ग्रोथ को होने नहीं देती, इस हायरार्की को हमें ब्रेक करना हो। और ये हायरार्की सिर्फ ब्रेक हो सकती है हमारे ग्रोथ माइंडसेट। और जब ये हायरार्की ब्रेक होगी, हम सीख पाएंगे, हम टेक्नोलॉजी को सीख पाएंगे, उसको यूज कर पाएंगे, और सबसे ज्यादा हम नए नए पेडागोजी सीख पाएंगे आज के बच्चे से कनेक्ट होने के लिए। तभी हम शायद फ्यूचर एजुकेशन को ठीक तरह से इसको प्लान कर पाए। बिना ग्रोथ माइंडसेट के इसको प्लान करना बहुत ही मुश्किल, क्योंकि आज हमारा बच्चा डायरेक्ट हमारे कांटेक्ट में नहीं है, उसको हम फिजिकल टच नहीं दे सकते, उसको हम इमोशनली टच सिर्फ अपने वर्ड से, अपनी वॉइस मॉड्यूलेशन से ही दे सकते हैं। तो हमको अपनी वॉइस में मॉड्यूल उतार चढ़ाव पैदा करने होंगे, और उनमें इतनी सेंसिटिविटी हमें लानी होगी अपनी वॉइस में कि बच्चा हमसे कनेक्ट फील महसूस कर सके। इतना अपनापन लाना होगा हमें अपनी क्लासेस के अंदर कि बच्चा हमसे जुड़ सके। जब तक बच्चा हमको सुनेगा ही नहीं तो वो समझेगा क्या, वो एक्सेप्ट क्या है। तो उसे एक्सेप्ट करने के लिए एक्सेप्टेंस जो है पहले हमें जरूरी। तो क्या हम पॉजिटिव ग्रोथ माइंडसेट के साथ हैं? क्या हम रेडीली हर चीज को एक्सेप्ट करने के लिए तैयार हैं? क्या हम सीखने के लिए तैयार हैं? अगर हम इसके लिए तैयार हैं तो हम फ्यूचरिस्टिक एजुकेशन की ओर डेफिनेटली बढ़ रहे हैं। और जब हम अपना नजरिया बदल रहे हैं तो बेशक हमारे नज़ारे भी बदलेंगे, ये बहुत जरूरी है। और जब हायरार्की बदलेगी तो कहीं ना कहीं एक सुकून होगा, हमारी टीचिंग में सुकून होगा, हमारी पेडागोजी में सुकून होगा, हमारे टीचिंग लर्निंग प्रोसेस में सुकून होगा, और ऑटोमेटिकली ये सुकून जो है हमें हैप्पीनेस की तरफ। और जब हम हैप्पीनेस की तरफ ले जाएंगे तो एक हैप्पी जो माहौल होगा, तो शायद ये हमारे दर्द को, जो ये पेंडेमिक के दौरान उभरा है, जहाँ हमें ये एहसास हुआ है कि हम शायद कहीं रुक गए हैं, कहीं थम गए हैं, तो वो जिंदगी जो थमी हुई सी थी, रुकी हुई सी थी, शायद उसको थोड़ा से मूवमेंट में महसूस कर पाए। जब हम उसको मोमेंटम उसमें महसूस कर पाएंगे तो हम नेचुरली हैप्पीनेस की ओर बढ़ेंगे। और जब हैप्पीनेस की तरफ हम बढ़ेंगे तो वो तो हमारा अधिकार है। हैप्पी रहना होना कौन नहीं चाहता, हैप्पी रहना कौन नहीं चाहता। जब हैप्पीनेस की तरफ, पीस की तरफ हम लोग बढ़ेंगे तो मेरे ख्याल से आप लोग भी एग्री होंगे, मैं तो यही कहूंगी कि जो ये ग्रोथ माइंडसेट है, दिस इज द की टू हैप्पीनेस। एंड इसके अलावा कई बार हम लोगों में एक एज फैक्टर भी आता है। कई बार हमको क्या लगता है कि अगर हमें हमारे छोटे या हमारे सामने वाले हमें कुछ सिखाने की कोशिश करते हैं, तो अचानक हमारे मन में क्या आता है, अच्छा तो अब ये हमें सिखाएंगे, अच्छा तो अब ये सही गलत बताएंगे हमको, इतने छोटे हैं, हमें तो बहुत एक्सपीरियंस है। बस उसी टाइम हम अपने टीचिंग लर्निंग प्रोसेस को कहीं ना कहीं रोक देते हैं। और जब उस टीचिंग लर्निंग प्रोसेस को जैसे ही हम रोकते हैं तो ये समझ लीजिए कि हम एक कदम, या कहना चाहिए 2 कदम पीछे हट जाते। तो जब इस हायरार्की से हम बाहर निकलते हैं तो हम सीखना और सिखाने के प्रोसेस को बहुत हेल्दी एनवायरनमेंट में ले जाते हैं। और मेरे ख्याल से फ्यूचरिस्टिक एजुकेशन में जब हमें जाना है फ्यूचर में, तो ये हमारे लिए एक बहुत बड़ा चैलेंज भी है और बहुत बड़ी लर्निंग भी है। उस चैलेंज को, इस लर्निंग को हम सिर्फ और सिर्फ ग्रोथ माइंडसेट से ही उसको हम कर सकते हैं।
थैंक यू वेरी
इसके
मच
साथ ही मैं अपनी बात खत्म करती हूँ
जी।
तो आखिर दावाना अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह, अस्सलाम वालेकुम, शुक्रिया।
Walaikum assalam, and thank you very much. It was really very motivating, and growth mindset is the need for the hour. And since Dr. Muhammad Ilyas Sahab is on the way and he has to take his flight, I think. So may I request Dr. Muhammad Ilyas to kindly say a few words before the flight takes off. आपकी आवाज नहीं आ रही है। I think you have some audio issue. So you are not audible. Your voice is not audible. There is some audio issue. So now let's move to the next speaker. Our next speaker is Mohammad Nasruddin Sahab, who has joined us from Kolkata. आप एक educationist हैं, and he is working in the field of education since long, and he is going to give us some insights in the light of his experience. Mohammad Nasruddin Sahab.
So, good evening, everyone. Good evening.
Good evening.
So, can you hear me?
Yes, very well.
So, my topic is international education, its potentials and pitfalls. Our future education is going to be international. The term is very ambiguous, and sometimes it is used interchangeably with comparative education, multicultural education, and development education. But all are different things. In fact, international education is the need of the hour. After World War I, after the establishment of League of Nations, it was felt that world peace, world tolerance is the need for humanity. So, with the establishment of International School of Geneva in the early 60s, the idea of international education came to the mankind. And in the age of globalization and internationalism, we need crossing beyond the boundaries, crossing beyond the national borders. So in nutshell, international education can be defined as the form of education through which we can develop global citizenship by promoting internationalism and international mindedness with the mobility of human resources, with the growing awareness of global citizenship. I have very short time, so I will sum up my ideas. This international education is three-partite. One that we call unilateral internationalism, in which the students of a particular nation are trained by faculty of another nation. The second is bilateral internationalism, in which we have an exchange of teachers and students between two nations, two countries. And the third one is multilateral internationalism, in which a group of several nations exchange their faculty, students for creating the awareness of internationalism. It's a very dynamic concept. It is very necessary to make us world citizens. We all know that a good citizen or a free citizen must have certain rights. The first one is a citizen has certain rights. He has or she has an identity. She must be included in this whole panorama of mankind. And the last one is the citizen must be given some sort of competence and some sort of confidence, as my earlier speaker was saying. This international education has many benefits. The students learn many cultures, they learn many languages, they learn many systems, many traditions. They become observers and participants in the whole race of mankind. This international education strengthens ties between different countries. but it has certain limitations too. The first limitation is movement across borders is not all the time possible. It is not always possible for students or faculty to move beyond borders. Sometimes the students may get what we call cultural shock. We know we are living in a multicultural universe, but not all cultures have equal representation. They don't enjoy equal respect. Some cultures are dominant, some are not so dominant. So the students coming from marginalized cultures, they might get cultural shock. So this international education is not only education beyond the borders. It is the exchange of ideas, the exchange of people, the exchange of development, the exchange of resources beyond political barriers, political frontiers, beyond cultural frontiers. We know that culture, religion, and nation, these three things, I think are the best gifts given by nature to mankind. Our culture, our religion, our language, our nation, these four things. But these four things become site of conflict. We have witnessed several wars. We have witnessed 2 world wars, World War I and II, and we don't know when the World War III is going to start. And the reason behind all these conflicts, wars, battles is just these four things: the false notion of nationalism, the false notion of religion, the false notion of race, the false notion of culture and language. This culture
Thank you very much.
culture includes language and religion. So through international education, we can enjoy two things. We can inculcate two things among us. Number one, the sense of internationalism, which is the theoretical basis of international education. And number two, a desire for socio-economic assistance. This is the pragmatics of globalization. By globalization, we don't mean that we are going to sell our products in a different nation and usurp its economy. By globalization, we mean that we want to bring socio-economic parity, socio-economic equity. So this international education, I think, is going to be our future, and we must remain alert whether this international education is going to either marginalize the weaker cultures, the weaker nations, or it is going to uplift them and make all citizens equal global citizens.
Thank
I
you
sum
very
up my
much,
presentation.
sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It was quite informative, and your viewpoint of futuristic education is that it's going to be the global education. Globalization is going to be the future. Let's see that how people are going to perceive it. Let me invite Mohammad Zubair Sahab, who is our next speaker and who's going to highlight on how to make effective teaching learning environment. Over to you, Zubair Sahab.
Hello, Assalamu alaikum. Good evening, all of you. Am I audible?
Good evening, you are audible.
Yes. Thanks, ma'am, for providing me the opportunity to talk on this topic. It's my pleasure to be here. I am Mohammad Zubair. I am working in Jamia Millia Islamia as Assistant Professor of Special Education in the Department of Education. So my topic is how can we make effective teaching learning environment in the school or in the college. So when we talk about the education, when we talk about the teachers are those who can mold their students according to their individual needs, because every individual is different and every individual has its unique needs, and every teacher make desired goals and try to achieve those goals to enhance the skills of their students and to achieve the maximum potential of the students. So teachers are the role models for students, and during the pandemic it was very challenging for us to teach our students in this many students are facing social emotional problems as well, because everybody is affected by this pandemic. So every children is unique and every child requires unique instructions by specially trained professionals to help them achieve their highest potential and strive to progress. And so firstly we have to do the few things I would like to say. Principle of firstly we have to a teacher must be a good observer. If you are a good observer, you can assess your students before the teaching and during the teaching and after the teaching. And you should follow the principles of previous knowledge and providing the individual differences, because in every individual is different, and some students are good in academic areas, some are good in the any and some are good in music or sports. So as a teacher, I should be a good observer, and my education must be meaningful for them. So we talk about nowadays holistic approach or overall development. So we have to teach them according to their needs. Firstly, the main thing is that early identification observes. Firstly, as a teacher, we have to observe the milestones they are achieving. Early identification, because when you identify your students at the early stages, that it would be very easy for you to make strategies, and you make plan for them. And the second thing is acceptability. Families and society must be accepted that the strength of the student, about the strength of the students, like if a child is not keen to be a doctor, so there is no need to impose that area to him. So sensitization and awareness is the important thing. And the most important thing is that provide equal opportunities and participation in the class. Curriculum adaptation, behavior modification we have to talk about, and modification and accommodations. So the thing is that multisensory approach we can use in the class. Like firstly, I will tell about the auditory learning. Some students are auditory learner. They learn reading by listening to someone present information orally or by being allowed to discuss and ask questions. So some students are auditory learner. If they are learning by reading and they are not getting information, so record your lectures, repeated lectures, and provide them. Use rhyming words. Use record your study material and provide them, and use repetition drills in the class. Increase their participation and engage them in the class. The rate of learning will be increased. So listen to the recordings and sounds, etc. You can use in the class. Class must be interactive. Everybody should take participation. It must be two-way process. You teach, but nowadays teaching learning process is two-way process. So provide them opportunity to do the things in the class. Another thing is that some students are visual learner. So visual learners, they learn by seeing words in printed forms, by using graphics and pictures, observing real life and other visual aids. Like nowadays we are using many applications and using ICT to teach our students. And so use color. You can use these things: illustrations, diagrams, pictures, PPTs, audio visual aids, and the recordings in the visual form. So these will help them to learn. Some students are kinesthetic learners. They learn by by performing. They have they perform activities in the class. So hands-on training is important in the class. So kinesthetic learners learn best through movements of their small fine or gross motor muscles development, because I hand got some students are introvert in nature. They are not able to express their views in front of others. So provide them opportunity, like co-curricular activities. We can say we can start in our school, like you can organize many programs, sports programs, or you can organize many programs related to co-curricular activities like pantomime, mono acting, debate, dance, folk dance. Many things you can use in the class. And they take information best while moving and doing, being involved in the projects, role playing, or the problem solving, learning while standing up and engaging in the real life activities, relate to their life and give the examples from their lives. So activity-based learning, co-curricular activities will help them, provides hands-on training that I'm telling about. So teach concepts through games and projects, create a good environment in the class, good ventilation, good facilities must be there, and sitting arrangement and the classroom management is also matters in the class. And when the other thing is that tactile learners, some students are tactile learners, they touch, tactile learners learn through their sense of touch, such as using their hands and fingers. They learn best their writing, drawing, and drawing, or they can feel the things. So we can provide learns best when physically engaged in hands-on activities in the class. In the classroom, benefit from a lab setting, because nowadays we are talking about inclusive education and the multidisciplinary approach. Because some students are high achievers, some students are low achievers, some students are medium. So according to their need, and we have to set our lesson plan or IP, individualized education plan. So you can use many things in the class, assembling and disassembling of puzzles and games, benefits from instructors who encourage in class demonstrations, hands-on students learning experience, and field work outside the classroom. Bears down extremely hard with pencil or pen when writing. Often enjoy working with tools and clays.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mohammad Zubair Sahab. Actually, your presentation is very, very beneficial, and that's why I requested everyone to send us the video. We can upload on the YouTube, and that will be beneficial for everyone.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Actually, only 10 minutes you have given to me, and it's very difficult to discuss. If you permit me 1 more minute, so I can.
Yes. Go ahead.
Conclude. So, curriculum designing, multisensory approach, use all modalities in the class, visual, auditory, kinesthetic, tactile methods, imitation methods, repetition drills, multidisciplinary approach. Every teacher must be there in school, like normal teacher, special educator, physiotherapist, psychotherapist, guidance counselor. Every teacher must be there. According to their needs, we should provide, scaffolding is the process given by the Vygotsky, because ZPD is there and there is a gap between his current potential and his maximum potential. We have to fill that gap. So learning by doing, and make barrier-free environment nowadays. So I am concluding my presentation. Use interactive methods, make them attentive, sitting arrangements, give extra time, break assignments, step by step, achieve goal and sub goals, increase participation, safety concerns also matters, and sometimes motivate your students, self-esteem, and when you reinforce them, their self-esteem will be higher and they will perform well. So try to be, try to do these things in the classroom. They will definitely learn in a different manner. So thank you. Thank you for providing me the opportunity.
Thank you very much. It is really very, very informative and very beneficial, especially the different learning styles of the students in the class.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, Mohammad Zubair Sahab. And I request you kindly spare your valuable time and then share with us. One more idea is there. That
ma'am. It's a big topic, because when we talk about the teaching learning process, how can we make? Because I am from the special education field, so we have to talk about many things, about the case studies, about the functional assessment, about the IPs. So,
Mohammad Zubair, I am going to inform you a good news that on Jahan-e-Man, this platform, every Monday we have a special program for the teachers of the schools or the colleges or the universities with the name of MMT.
Okay.
MMT is exclusively program that is Motivate Million Teachers. That is a project of Jahan-e-Man. So here we have half an hour full length time for one speaker. So I request you to kindly come on Monday in MMT,
yeah, sure.
and then you speak about the whole presentation, and that's going to be beneficial.
Yeah.
And this offer goes to all the speakers. Kindly just let me know your date. Every Monday it is. You just give me the date as per your convenience, and we will inshallah invite you here. Jahan-e-Man has one more program, that is public speaking competition and the training. This is also open for the students and the teachers. those who feel that they need little polishing in their languages so that they can be more effective speaker, they can contact us. We have the coaches from abroad, like we have coaches from different countries, and they are going to give you the real English accent and English style of speaking. Then we have a program called FEEL, because everybody knows that nowadays technology plays very important role. And this FEEL program is to empower the students and the teachers with technological advancement. So here we teach the students and the teachers how to use different types of apps and how to be more effective in the digital gadget. Then we have one more training program with the name of FILM. And in all the programs, we have international coaches. And here also in FILM, we teach that what is going to be the role of the future educational leaders and how we have to prepare ourselves. So these are some of the initiatives of Jahaneman that is for the benefit of all the educators.
Nice.
Now, coming to my topic today, I am also going to take only 5 to 10 minutes time, because I'm also equally going to take the time as everyone else. So futuristic education, I have taken the topic of future school. And I will just highlight on 4 points, and these 4 points written on your screen is very, very old. It's not something new I'm going to speak, like heart, head, hand, and soul. These are 4 aspects of any human being's personalities. Now, what is going to be in future with head? And what's going to be in future with heart? What's going to be in future with soul? And what's going to be in future with hand? That has to be pondered upon, and that has to be considered now here. See, first of all, if we talk about the head, I mean head means the cognition. When we talk about the cognition, now information and knowledge is going to take backbench. All the informations are very easily available on a click. Now the application part, and after application, the evaluation part, and then after evaluation, the creation part is going to take the front bench. Now the companies or the industries are going to look at the students who are the creators, not the ones who are full of information. So we have to focus in our education that how we have to develop the creativity in the students. And for that, it's required to, first of all, teach them on the application methods. And for that, real life situation and our experiential learning method is going to really help us. So this is as far as head is concerned. In future, the people who are emotional, or those who have the EQ, are going to be more successful than the people who have high IQ but low EQ. So EQ is all about the heart. How do we feel for us, and how do we feel for others? How do we feel for the society, and how do we feel about the globe? That is the heart. We have to take special care of this heart for the future education, because if you are not empathetic towards the people, if you are not keeping yourself in the place of others, and then you are going to lead or you are going to manage, 100% you are going to be a failure manager, a failure boss, and a failure leader. So first of all, we have to keep ourselves in the place of those whom we are leading. So this EQ we have to teach in the classrooms along with the IQ. That is as far as heart is concerned. Now, if we talk about the soul, soul is all about recognizing ourselves, who we are, why are we here, recognizing our purpose of life, knowing our niche, what exactly is our requirement, what exactly satisfies us. And this is going to happen only when we are going to be closer to our creator and try to be develop a special relationship with our creator and almighty. That is the soul. And this has to be taught at the school, because you know, in many cases we live in this world. Even today I had a class of happiness, and I asked the people, okay, why are you happy today? So most of them are not happy. And if they are happy, they don't know the reason. They say simply, I am happy. So we have to recognize ourselves, our feelings. If we are sad, what is the reason? If we are happy, what is the reason? And the same we have to do in our classrooms with the students. And when we talk about the hand is going to be now the digital hand. Without that, there is no future education, there is no future school. So those who are reluctant to embrace technology are going to be at the back bench. They are not going to at all get benefit in the future education. As soon as we embrace the change, we embrace technology, we are going to be the successful people in this field, in this area. Even when the pandemic is not there, even the pandemic is over and we are in the normal situation, then also this technology is going to take front place in our lives. So that's why we have to teach our students about AR, about VR, about AI, about coding, about the language of the computers. This is essential, and that's why CBSE has also introduced, even from primary classes, the coding classes. It's important for us to we have to go for the changes. So my dear ladies and gentlemen, these are 4 points that I am going to give you today as far as my understanding of future school is concerned. Thank you very much. Now I would like to make an announcement. In between, we have missed 2 or 3 speakers. If those speakers are present here, they just identify themselves either by raising the hand or by writing their name in the chat box, so that we can come to them and we can give them the opportunity to express their ideas. It is a call for the speaker. Moin Akhtar Sahab is among us. Mr. Moin Akhtar Sahab, would you like to say a few words on this auspicious occasion when we are discussing future education?
Good evening, ma'am. Are you hearing me?
Yes, yes.
Achha. So now it is a good program, and we learn a lot of from your program, and esteemed and distinguished speakers invited by you. But I want to know कि जैसे इंडिया में हम रूरल एरिया में हम कैसे इसको पहुंचाएंगे? अभी इंडिया में डिजिटलाइजेशन हुआ नहीं है और बहुत कम लोगों के पास में गैजेट्स हैं।
जी, बहुत अच्छा क्वेश्चन है। हम आपके पास आएंगे आपके क्वेश्चन का जवाब लेकर के। उससे पहले अभी हमारे एक स्पीकर यहाँ तशरीफ ला चुके हैं। May I request Mr. Umar to kindly express his views in 5 minutes, please. Umar Khan Saab.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
Wa alaikum assalam.
I would like to thank everyone for giving me this opportunity, especially the host and co-host and everyone who are doing their work and putting their effort in education and building the new era and on the community to develop them in the field of education. As without education, we will be lacking behind, and the role of the people who will be handling the universe is in the hands of the knowledge. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the first command has given to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was started from reading. So this is the first part. We as in the field of education, we know the changings happens, and as educationalists, we know that the curriculum which is planned has to be revived every 5 years according to the changes happening and taking place in the world. So in that view, the syllabus we are using nowadays and whatever the program is going on, we are lacking behind. Actually, until and unless we will be very aware, it will be very difficult. Let me take our discussion today to two parts mainly. One part is what is the realistic time we are in India. Being in India, it's a very big country with a very high number of people and population. the digitalization is yet to reach even to the 50% of India. So we are not in that level of people who have the knowledge and technology, but we have to plan that in the coming 10 years, this digital world will reach to everyone in India. And in fact, it is not tough. It is very easy. And our children show their capability of adopting the new changes. Being in the school field, and as we have started the online classes, Alhamdulillah, we had a branch in Delhi and one in a very rural area in Motihari, that is Champaran in Bihar. And we can understand the difficulty of connectivity, difficulty of how to handle the classes online, but still the part, if the correct orientation and correct awareness among the people to adopt this change and work to utilize the technology is very important. If we could make it happen through the different ways and different facilities we have, I don't think it will take more than coming 10 years that everyone will be very familiar with this technology. A part of this, we as educationalists, the second topic I want to discuss and put up to our colleagues and our seniors who are in this field, that it is not only about the utilization of technology. We have a very big problem which has been happening since last few decades, and that is the gap happened between mannerism and adab along with education, that is talim. So it is not about only talim, there is talim and tarbiyat. And once the tarbiyat is took out and extracted from the knowledge will not be useful anymore. If the person after getting the knowledge is not accountable, he is not feeling the fear of Allah, he is not having the feeling of justice, he is not loyal to his work and duties, there is no sense of the knowledge he has gained throughout his life. And since last few decades, there is unable to provide the proper adab to the students, especially as the world, when it became in a city or in a town and all the different cultures got mixed with people, the people started forgetting the distinguish between right and wrong, between good and bad. And this is one of the calamity among the whole people. And we are focusing on the minority as a Muslims because we have the guidelines, but still we are far away from it. So along with the utilization and being prepared to adopt the technology, we have as an educationalist to think about how we can use this technology to make the adab a part of teaching and a part of learning during our work. Alhamdulillah, we have now so many people here. I don't want to take more of your time, and I hope that I can hear more than I speak. So I'm very grateful and thankful to the host for giving me this opportunity, as well as requesting everyone to let me listen and learn from you. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Jazakumullah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Umar Khan Sahab, and a very valid issue of the society you have pointed out, that is the character building of the students. And that's why those students are going to be the citizen of tomorrow. Then naturally, the whole society is deteriorating as far as character values are concerned. So this is a very important issue that you have mentioned in your speech. Thank you very much. God bless you. So now with this, we come to the end of today's speeches. If any speaker I have left, please point out so that I can get back to you and then we can discuss. As far as Moin Akhtar Sahab's question is concerned, कि बहुत सारे इंडिया में ऐसी जगह हैं जहाँ पे अभी डिजिटली एडवांसमेंट नहीं है, तो मैं ये बता दूं कि जहाँ भी मोबाइल स्मार्टफोन अगर गया है तो वहाँ पे एजुकेशन बहुत आसानी के साथ जा सकता है, क्योंकि एक स्मार्टफोन के जरिए भी बहुत कुछ पढ़ाया जा सकता है। लेकिन जाहिर सी बात है कि बहुत से ऐसे गांव हैं जहाँ स्मार्टफोन भी नहीं है। मुझे लगता है उनकी तादाद लेकिन कम है ऐसे गांव की, क्योंकि मेरा ताल्लुक खुद एक ऐसे स्कूल से है जो एक छोटे से टाउन में है And you will not believe that we have started online classes and the students are so eagerly learning. वहाँ पे कुछ बच्चे ऐसे थे जिनके पास स्मार्टफोन नहीं थे, तो मैनेजमेंट इतना जेनरस है कि उन्होंने फिर उनको स्मार्टफोन मुहैया कराया. कुछ वेल विशर्स हैं, जो ऐसे लोग हैं, खैरखा हैं हमारे दरमियान, जो लोगों की बच्चों की भलाई चाहते हैं, तो उन्होंने फिर उन बच्चों के लिए स्मार्टफोन का इंतजाम किया. फिर उनको हमने वो स्मार्टफोन दिया, लेंड किया उनको कि जब तक ऑनलाइन क्लासेस हो रही हैं आप पढ़िए इससे, फिर बाद में आप इसको वापस कर दीजिएगा. तो इस तरह से अगर हम सब लोग मिलकर कोशिशें करेंगे, एनजीओज का इसमें अहम किरदार होगा. जहां हम लोगों के लिए लंगर लगाते हैं, बड़े बड़े खाने का इंतजाम करते हैं, देगों का इंतजाम करते हैं, मेरा ख्याल ये है कि अगर हम देगों के इंतजाम के बजाय बच्चों को एक लर्निंग डिवाइस प्रोवाइड करा दें, तो वो हमारे लिए एक बहुत बड़ा सदका जारिया होगा और उससे पूरी एक जनरेशन हमारी अच्छी होगी, एजुकेटेड होगी और फिर वो सेल्फ डिपेंडेंट होगी. जी उमर साहब, आप कुछ कहना चाहते हैं?
वेरी गुड, वेरी गुड, बहुत अच्छा, बहुत अच्छा.
जी मैम, मैं आपकी इजाजत से एक बात यहाँ पर ऐड करना चाहता हूँ कि टू अचीव आवर गोल in making the people adapt this technology, the most important and effective mean is the teachers. अगर हमारे टीचर्स इस चेंजेस को अडॉप्ट करने के लिए तैयार हो जाते हैं, जहनी तौर पर, प्रैक्टिकली बाय फोर्स तो एडमिन कर सकता है, बट उनको ट्रेन करना, उनके लिए इस टेक्नोलॉजी को आसान कर देना जब टीचर के अंदर आ जाता है, तो ऑटोमेटिकली वो हमारे बच्चों के अंदर रिफ्लेक्ट करने लगता है. फॉर इंस्टेंस हमारी चंपारण वाली ब्रांच के अंदर इट्स मींस लॉकडाउन खत्म होने के बाद हमने स्कूल शुरू किया था और उसके बाद लॉकडाउन खत्म होते ही बंद दोबारा से शुरू हो गया तो बंद करके बैठ गए. बट स्टिल जो 5, 6, 7 पेरेंट ने आकर इंक्वायरी की थी स्कूल की, हमने उनसे कहा कि आप ऑनलाइन क्लास शुरू कर दीजिए. हमारे वो टीचर्स जो अभी तक मतलब मोबाइल कभी यूज नहीं कर रहे थे फैमिलियरी, जो अभी तक मतलब किसी टीचिंग प्रॉपर फॉर्मल टीचिंग में नहीं थे, within a one big training, online training, they started and they are continue taking classes. यहाँ तक कि जो पेरेंट अभी तक एनरोल नहीं हुए हैं, हमने फ्री उनको एजुकेशन दिया कि आप हमारे इस फैसिलिटी से फायदा उठा लीजिए. वो अभी भी कहते हैं कि आप क्लासेस बढ़ा लीजिए, हमारे बच्चे अब पढ़ने लगे हैं जो नहीं पढ़ रहे थे पिछले लॉकडाउन में. So when the teacher is ready for adopting this technology, they will do it. और अगर उनके अंदर क्यूरियोसिटी होगी तो हमारे टीचर्स हमें सजेस्ट करते हैं कि सर आप ये चीज कर लीजिए, ये ज्यादा फायदेमंद होगा, इस टेक्नोलॉजी नई आई हुई है उसको यूज कर लीजिए. एंड दे आर डूइंग अ वेरी वंडरफुल जॉब. मींस वी एज द एडमिन फीलिंग दैट आवर टीचर्स आर गोइंग फार, मतलब बहुत आगे निकल रहे हैं हमसे इवन इन यूसेज ऑफ द टेक्नोलॉजी.
थैंक यू वेरी मच, जज़ाकल्लाह खैर. और इसके साथ ही तारिक आजम साहब, आप हमारे सीनियर्स यहाँ मौजूद हैं. इलियास साहब अब हमारे साथ जुड़ नहीं सकते, वो उनकी फ्लाइट टेक ऑफ हो चुकी है, तो मैं आपसे रिक्वेस्ट करूंगी कि आप कंक्लूडिंग रिमार्क्स से इस महफिल के इख्तिताम का अनाउंसमेंट करें. तारिक आजम साहब.
Thank you very much. Alhamdulillah, was quite a mixed group of speakers and different experts from different fields. We would like to conclude this and thank you, Halima Saadia, for organizing this. Very informative, very educative get together. And inshallah, hopefully, we will in future organize more such programs where more specific topics can be discussed and how to progress education, especially in rural areas, urban poor areas, and we can all learn from there. So thank you very much, everybody. And I think we call this program to an end. Wa akhiru da'wana walillahi alhamd. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Walaikum assalam, and everyone, thank you very much, all the parents, all the children, and all the distinguished speakers. You all have my contact number, and I have told you already that every Monday we have Motivate Million Teachers program. So whenever you feel like motivating the teachers, please just contact me. We will sit together and we'll try to motivate the teachers by giving them the skills, by giving them the knowledge, and by giving them the platform to highlight their achievements and to highlight their contributions in the society. Thank you very much, and take special care of yourself. As Tariq Sahab has announced that quite often we are going to meet in this way. So inshallah, we'll make it quarterly affair. So maybe once in 3 months, we should sit together and discuss the new technologies, discuss the new initiatives taken by any one of us, and then refresh our understanding of future education. Thank you very much, everyone. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.